Good evening and welcome to the Choralist Choir Hour. My name is Sibusiso Njeza and this is the Choral Hour. Every Thursday at 7 o'clock, I have a conversation with a choir, one choir every week. And this week we are in the province of the Northwest, where we are going to meet the conductor and the choir management of Bagale Chorus. This is the show whereby we talk about the plans that the choir had for 2020 and how those plans were disturbed by COVID-19, as COVID-19 disturbed everything, how the choir held on from when they were supposed to have had some performances around the country and how they're planning to move forward. Currently, the president has just declared that we are going to level 1. So definitely the plans will be changing very soon for choirs around the country in preparation for 2021. So this evening, I am joined first by the conductor of the Bagale Chorus, Mr. Mohau Mogale. Let me invite him in. Ntate Mogale.
Hey, Ntate Maduna.
I'm good, man. How are you?
Man, I'm surviving under the circumstances. But God has been good.
I can imagine. So how have you been? Have you been involved with any musical activities?
It has been a tough year, especially with regard to musical activities. I think we have attempted to do a virtual choir. We're still in that process. The technology, we need to get our foot on the right space so that we can maneuver through this technology. But nonetheless, nothing much that has been happening because we the situation, man, it's not favorable at the moment, but we are surviving.
It's not. That's what is important. That's what is important. That you guys are surviving, and you are here this evening. Let me also invite in your choir leadership so that we can meet them. Yes, there they are. There they are. Let me start with the lady. To our ladies first. So how are you, ma'am?
Thank you, Mr. Njeza. I'm doing well under the circumstances, but by the grace of God, we've been able to survive the coronavirus pandemic. And we are hoping that with the level 1 announcement by the president yesterday, the choir will be able to mobilize its members. Like Ntate Mohau has said, we have been having challenges with the technology. I think the coronavirus in some extent has exposed a lot of organizations, including choirs, in terms of the use of technology. So these are some of the opportunities that we need to start looking at as the management of Bahali Chorus in terms of how we benefit from the use of technology, and going forward.
Yeah, before we can get deeper into this conversation, please introduce yourself and what position you have within the choir management of Bagale Chorus.
Okay. My name is Morakani Masokwe. So I sing the soprano part within Bagale Chorus, but I've been requested to be the interim chairperson of the choir until we have a proper selection and establishment of the management structure within the choir.
Viva Bagale, you have a woman as a chairperson. You are doing well. You are doing well, because organizations are being questioned. Most organizations don't have women in their leadership. So I am glad that Bagale Chorus is having a woman as a leader. I've worked with a lot of women in leadership. I know what they're capable of. So that's why I'm excited. I've led successful choirs that had women as chairpersons or as part of the executive. So thank you so much. Mr. Tumelo, please greet viewers, introduce yourself and the position you are holding.
Good evening, Matuna. Just on this great Thursday. My name is Tumelo Kubani, but in the fraternity, I have a nickname because of my complexion. So they usually call me Blackbeard.
They call you what?
Blackbeard.
So we need to put some PIS on you, ne?
No. So I am the communications and marketing officer of the choir. And then also in this period, I've been taking through the work for getting the statistics, how are we looking, and then, with regards to the numbers, and then also trying to get information on where we are, not only musically, but also occupational wise, and so that we can see what time would be suitable now for the choir to work and for the choir to proceed from where it left off. So that is usually what I do. So also when it comes to technology, that is my field of expertise there. Anything new, and with COVID, I've been able to explore a lot of things and get to work with choirs, different choirs, not only mine but different, just to see what we can try to achieve through song and technology.
That's great. That's great. I think you're also perfect in your position, because people who get nicknames are people who are liked by people, and those people always have a way to communicate with people. So if you're a communications person, that means you are a people's person. So I think you're perfect there. Mr. Monene, please greet our viewers, introduce yourself. We're also interested in knowing what position are you holding within the choir management of Bagale Chorus. Please unmute yourself, sir. Can you unmute yourself? Looks like
technology is not friendly.
I can see. David, can you hear us? Let's first establish that, because it doesn't seem like he's hearing us. David, can you hear us? No.
Yeah, I don't think he can hear us.
No, he's not hearing us. All right. Let's get deeper into knowing you guys. Let me go back to you, Murakane. When did you join the choir?
Thank you. I joined Bahali Chorus in 2014. And this is after I had seen a series of their performances. I actually was schooling with the conductor when we were still in high school, so I knew him. I can say we are friends of some sort. So I was always following his his music journey. So I loved what he was doing with Bagale Chorus, which is the reasons why I joined. So since 2014, I had joined Bahali Chorus, but then I had to take a break because of family reasons. I was on maternity leave. And at the time when I wanted to now join the choir, which is this year coming back full, then we were hit by COVID. But basically, that is my journey with Bagale Chorus.
Great. Either one of you is young or one of you is old between you and the conductor if you went to the same high school. I'm just going to leave it like that. I'm not going to get deeper into it. So I believe you come from the same place where Bagale Chorus is operating. I assume because you sing in the choir, you go to rehearsals. So tell me, what kind of contribution is the choir making towards the community where you guys are operating?
Should that still be taken by me?
Yes, I'm talking to you. Yes, I'm still with you.
All right. Thank you. Basically, Bagale Chorus, when it started, it was mostly consisting of kids from school, majority of which were just scholars, not working, and some of the members consisted of just normal community members who are, unemployed. We just had a few people who were employed within the choir, and with that comes its own challenges. So what the choir did, we were forging partnerships with local churches. So we're supporting a lot of churches, and some of our choristers, I'm not going to mention by names, they would even go to schools to assist with the music, teaching the kids the music for the Saske competitions. So mostly that is what has been the contribution of Bagale Chorus within the community that it finds itself in.
That's actually great because it means you are building from grassroots as the choir, and those are the people who become the sky from the community. Tumelo, let me bring you back to this conversation because I see that David is experiencing network challenges because he's now gone, and I saw him briefly coming back and then he was gone again. So given what Moragane has just said, how is your relationship now as the choir with the community, given what the choir is doing to the community? I just want to understand, the landscape where you guys operate. And I'm sure people who are watching, they also are interested in knowing how the environment is where you operate. So how is your relationship with the community now from the side of the community? Are they interested in what you guys are doing?
Starting with myself on that point, I am a product of that particular outreach, where I met the conductor through his other ventures. He was leading a choir, an international choir called the ICOM Honors Chorus, and listening to him, and not only to the music that the individuals that he was with, which are the members of Bahali Chorus, doing the work that they were doing, and listening to the music that they were doing, and I got interested in that to also be groomed into that particular type of and I would say it's leadership, because if you then take people and serve them, that is leadership. Leadership is not being in the front, it's serving people and what they would need from an individual. So from that, the community it's our place, and also, Bahali Chorus, it's not only based in one province. I wouldn't necessarily base it in one area to say it's a Northwest choir, because most of our members would find that they are located Gauteng. There are members that you would get in the Northwest, whether rural or in the urban areas. So it's a diverse environment. And for me, at the age that I joined the choir, which I joined in 2013, after a rehearsal on Wednesday, and a particular section was done of the music.
You even remember the day.
Yeah, I remember that day. It was life changing, and I had to remember that and say, if music can be made like that every day, then I'm going there. And I had to leave my own choir, the one that I was singing for at the moment or at that particular time, and join this great movement of Bahale Chorus, which has groomed me to this musician that people know and some respect. And I'm honored and grateful for the opportunity. Sometimes we do not give people flowers while they're still alive, so it's a great platform to do so in front of the whole nation, to know that we met and then great things were done.
Yeah, Mr. Mogale, you're getting some flowers there. You're getting some flowers.
It pains my heart. It pains my heart to hear people speak like that. Yeah, but it's a great thing, especially Morakani. I conducted it from school. I was a conductor, so it's amazing. She speaks fluently. She's a leader today. It's amazing.
It is amazing. I mean, with choirs, we achieve a lot. We achieve a lot. Fortunately, I have two very good leaders, even though I don't know them personally, but from what I've heard already, they speak like very good leaders. So with these kind of leaders, I know we are going somewhere. We have future as choirs, because our contribution is enormous in our communities. Before I invite you in, Mr. Mogale, I'm still excited by these two leaders. As leaders, I'm just going to throw this question to both of you. Let's talk about it. As leaders, what are some of the common challenges that choirs are facing across the nation? Because like you just said, Bagale Chorus is not only a choir based in Northwest, but you have performed across the nation, the country. You've been to the national finals of the National Choir Festival. I've met you in so many other performances, like the Melting Pot, that first performance you rendered. It was during the Melting Pot. So what are some of the common challenges that choirs are facing, that if you guys, as choir leaders, no conductors now, just choir leaders, if you were placed in one room, that you would say, okay, guys, let's discuss 1, 2, 3, because these are the things that are hindering choirs from progressing. What would those challenges be? Tumelo, it looks like Muragane, we lost her.
Yeah, no. From my side, being in the choral space and looking at the environment that we are in, I would say commonly it would be financially, because we start these organizations tending to do music, but it's demanding financially, and most of the time you would find that choristers are not working, and also the willingness to contribute towards something. Also, it's difficult in our space, where you would find people who are able to just say, no, I will pledge this amount or pledge this in order for us to progress. So that would be the first common issue that I think choirs are facing, which is finance. Finance would be the biggest one, in which we need to really look at before we can go out and say we're going to source out funds or do anything. But if we ourselves tend to have plans to get funds and then use those funds wisely towards progression and development, then other things will follow in suit with regards to that. Because if you use your finances right with good ideas and good concepts, I think you are bound to become successful in whatever that you do. So for us to do that, more projects, and then we must go out and source, knowing that we are a reputable, creditable organization that are able to attract investment. Because if you attract investment, it means that your product is good. So it must not be good only when it's on stage and it's at a particular competition. It must also reflect through other things, even community service, and also how you uphold yourself as an entity. You must be branded. You must be a brand. We must be brands as choirs, instead of just being a group of singers who come and meet because there is a copy. No, we must become a, yeah. I think that is.
I like the idea of us as choirs equating other things to the excellent kind of music that we produce, because it makes no sense when such great choirs are saying they're broke, because we produce quality. I've been listening to that Foco de Joya. There are opera choruses that cannot perform at that level. But here in South Africa, we have choirs who can pull off that kind of a performance of Othello's Verdi's Othello. Murakani, I'm not sure if you heard where my question was before you left. I was asking, as choir leaders, what are the common challenges that you have identified, whereby if we can take choir leaders without conductors from across the nation and place them in one venue and say, discuss what some of those common challenges you would suggest you guys discuss. So Tumelo was responding to that, and he mentioned finance. So what are other challenges that you would recommend that choir leaders discuss?
I think we need to respect choirs as areas of professions. We need to professionalize it. And by professionalizing choirs, I mean we need to run them as institutions of learning. And if one can look at how an institution of learning is defined by a lot of things. It's defined by what legal structure does it have? Is it a PTY LTD? Is it an NPO? Is it all of that? And again, it will have policies in place that informs how it operates. It will have management that is committed. It will have clear vision and mission of what the choir is all about and what is it that it's intending to achieve. It will set up very clear steps of how the choir will achieve everything that it had defined for itself. So that is just looking at the leadership of choirs and how they really run choirs in a manner that can start being recognized by institutions like government. If government starts seeing us as legal entities, and when you approach them, because Dumelo spoke about issues of lack of funding or lack of finance, the nature of choirs by themselves, we are not, the product that we are selling is not like your car at a car dealership. We are selling something that it's, in terms of value, it's so intangible, you cannot measure it. So it becomes so difficult in the industry because even our niche is specific. You look at South Africa as what kind of music that South Africa love. I think I was speaking to Mohau previously, and he was saying, I don't want to call people by names, but if they were to say some famous R&B or a Kwaito star will be coming to a stadium, you are gonna have more than 1,000 people turning around, and they will be willing to pay that 500 rands to come and see that person. So our finance model, it's more dependent on us getting funding from institutions like maybe Department of Arts and Culture, things like that. And for such departments to end up saying, let's fund choirs, they need to see choirs as something that adds value to the nation. And until we get to a point where we are able to define that, we're able to even get all these groups in one place, your private institutions, your government entities, we are still going to find this challenge where you are unable to finance a choir. And when that is the case, like I mentioned, Bahali, it's mostly it's constituted by people who are unemployed. It's constituted by scholars. Those people are unable to fund themselves. Then you get a very few number of people that are employed, but they've got families, they've got other responsibilities, and for them to take their money and fund the choir, it becomes a bit problematic. So the funding makes what you want to achieve as a choir very counterproductive, because at the end of the day, you are unable to achieve what you want. Every time when you want to get to the next step, the hurdle becomes the finance.
Great. Mohau, let me bring you back. There's quite a lot that Morgan has just mentioned, from leadership, management, governance. She summed it up nicely. Now, I have a question. You have attended workshops as a composer, Mohau. You've attended workshops as a conductor.
Yes.
You've attended workshops as an adjudicator and as a facilitator of those workshops. At times, you attend the workshops and you get trained on these things. How many of such workshops are organized for choir leaders and choir administrators?
To be honest, Maduna, that's a very serious challenge, because that never happens. I think the reason why we find not the everything syncing together, it's because of you, from a music side, you become so capacitated to a point that you surpass the level that your management operates. So then you start, telling them about what you think will be beneficial for the choir. Sometimes, because of those particular issues, you end up not being in great terms with them, because they see this thing from a different angle. The problem is we are firstly musicians. It starts there. We are firstly musicians, and what brings us together is music, right? However, when we get there are social or socio-economic challenges that you find in the choir that hinders the music. I don't know if you understand my point. Now, that is because we have not adopted the right strategy in addressing management issues. We need more of workshops. We need more of what do you call this? Learning. I want to say learning. We need more education so that we can educate the management of the choirs to start operating at a different level that it has been. For some time, I've had so many experiences whereby I need to decide what the choir is going to wear. I need to decide what the choir is going to go to eat the following day. I need to decide choir in competition in the next day. You know, those things are not the things that a conductor is supposed to do. Those are the things that the management is supposed to do. So we end up stepping into that space because we want to salvage the music. Kanti, on the other side, we are messing it up because now there's no growth in that particular area. So I think if we can try to balance the two, then choirs will be sustainable, and then they'll be much productive.
I agree with you, Mohau, 100%. I agree with you. Because as conductors, we tend to focus so much on the music. And we forget that there are people who studied other things, who studied finance, who can do budgeting, who can put together proposals, who are good with marketing, who are good with legal stuff, where they can assist with policies of the choir. But we always say, okay, this is all about music, and then we push music to an extent that we step on these other areas without thinking. You know, this has created an interest now. Can you, before we listen to some music, can you just tell me how is the management structure? How is the design for your choir?
Okay, now I'm gonna start from the back. I'll start from the back. Where when we started the choir. When we started the choir, like Cynthia mentioned, we had about 92% of students and non-workers, and only about 80% of people who are working. So the strategy was, let's try to get those people who are working to try to lead and groom other students as we go along. So the choir management consisted mainly of adults, those adults who are working, so that they can steer this thing up. As we proceeded, things started to change because now, vocally, the young ones are better than the older ones. Now, the older ones start coming to choir, but they don't end up singing on stage because now the younger ones are actually doing quite well. Now, what happens is now you start seeing a little bit of a drawback from a management position. And now, if there's a drawback from a management position, it means you need to step in and try to salvage the situation, because now these are the people that can't sing very well, but they are always there. These are the people who are so rowdy. They sing very well. They don't attend choirs. Last minute, they are there. Then they are the cream of the choir. That as well creates a bit of a problem. Now, as years proceeded, then we started having 3 key positions. That was the secretary of the choir that deals with all the administration. It was the treasurer of the choir, and then it was the chairperson of the choir. Now, as you know, choirs will always have differences. There was no, I felt there was no connection in what we were doing, because you had to groom these young ones, but they had not been experienced enough to can really know what is the best thing that a manager of the choir should do. So those were kind of problems, until I think later we started having now more people coming in who were quite matured to come and give us advices. I think there was a moment, Cynthia, before, when she joined the choir, they organized quite a very nice, different thing, a concert apart from a competition, that for the first time it brought some revenues to the choir, you see. Then, unfortunately, there was a moment I was left alone. because now other people get family commitments, other people they get work, they go somewhere, and now you are left alone with the kids, and yeah, you are everything. You are the father, you are the finance officer, you are the conductor. That took a toll. That took a toll, and I think that's where everything started coming, diminishing a little bit, because now one could no longer take it. So it's just that now when we decided that we are going to start rebranding the choir, and we are going to start changing the way things are. They are the same people, those young ones who were there. They are the same people who came to me and said, we are now older. We now have a better thinking position steer things differently. So I'm very hopeful that now things might be better, although I've got my own plans that I feel I don't know if we will agree going forward, because I think we have done a lot of competitions before that did not bring a lot of revenue, and then we need to change the gears and say, how do we institutionalize the choir and make sure that competition is just a drop in the ocean. If we go, we go. If we don't, then we don't. But mainly, we focus on rebranding the choir. If things go well, we sit and talk. We have an agreement. We should be a better entity going forward.
Great. Let's hold it there for now. Listen to a bit of music. And when we come back, we are going to start from where we left off and talk about plans 2020. But maybe for a minute, you can just pass on the point of you not taking it anymore. Because I'm not sure whether it's the time where we saw you conducting Sound of the Nation and Bagale Chorus. We were not seeing them at that time a lot, actually, because we saw them once or twice, but you were busy with Sound of the Nation. I'm not sure if that's the same time. Let's listen to some music, and then when we come back, we will talk a bit about that. Yes, Ukozi Oluma Piko Piko. I'm sure that was one of the most proud moments of the Bagale Chorus performing at the Melting Pot Choir Festival and at Ekurhuleni, Carnival City. That was the competition, one competition where good choirs were handpicked across the country. So it was not an everybody's kind of a competition where you decide that I'm going to enter Melting Pot. Only great choirs, but we're not going to talk about that. Let me acknowledge some of the people who have joined us this evening and their comments. We have that comments. I still remember the guys, the time you guys wearing gray pullovers. That was your first uniform. I'm sure that one knows you.
Very well.
Says, how I wish the management of other choirs are listening for more enrichment. I share that sentiment, Dr. Nompula, because I've learned a lot from the ideas that have been shared here. Umama Umandisanguza, oh, that's touching, Mr. Mogale. To find yourself single-handed in is a pity. Of course, I'm sure there are many conductors who have experienced that kind of an experience that you had, Mr. Mogale. Mr. Bulelani Lamani is thanking us for having this conversation. And we are thanking you, Mr. Lamani, for joining us this evening, because without these conversations, we won't be able to learn from one another, because like Mr. Mogale was saying, we met at a competition and the only thing we focus on is beating each other. And then there's no idea, there's nothing that we share. Let me also read this last one. That's you, Mr. Mogale. You hit the nail on the head, Mr. Mogale. Nothing beats balance between chorister, technical team, and management. You cannot be all of that as one person, as a conductor. Now, we only have about 14 minutes. Now, Mr. Mogale, let me give you just 1 minute because I'm interested in this. I saw you conducting Sound of the Nation, and I thought you had left Bagale Chorus, and now I'm sitting with you as a choir conductor of Bagale Chorus. So what was that about, and where is that relationship now?
Okay. I never left Bahali Chorus because Bahali Chorus had always been there, though just not competing. Everything started 2016 when I took a toll of finances. I could not finance the choir because the choir was going to Botswana for the NCF regionals, because we had started singing, but unfortunately about 42 members didn't have passports to go to Botswana. And there was no way that I could find that. I think there were 2 of us or 3 of us who tried to fund it, but it was impossible to fund. So we decided then to say, you know what, I think it's time we take a break and try to reflect on how we're going to move forward with the issue of finances. And for most fortunately or unfortunately, fortunately, yeah, it's a good thing. Fortunately, Sound of the Nation heard that Bagale Chorus is taking a break. 2 days after that, I got a call from Sound of the Nation. They said, we need a conductor and who will take us to stage. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. But some guy just said, but you don't have to do anything. We'll support you. We have the right support. We'll support you. And because I didn't want to get into the same space. And that was, I think, 3 weeks before competition or 2 weeks. Then I decided that, let me just go and listen to how the choir sounds. I found them there, and okay, if I could work every day here, I could get something. And I then said, no, I can work, but I'm going to need at least about 20 members from Bagale Chorus because they're the ones that understand how I work. And let's merge and then I got there about 20 something choristers, and then we meshed together, and that's how we made Sound of the Nation great. And it's not a regret that we did not compete that year, because at least we managed to go to a competition with some of the choristers who were available, and then we supported Sound of the Nation. We are best buddies. We work very well together, so it has always been nice.
This is such a beautiful story, Mohau. The story of collaboration between two great choirs. One had a challenge. In fact, both had a challenge because they didn't have a conductor, and you guys had a conductor, but you couldn't go to competitions because you had no money, and they had the money and the means, but could not go because there's no conductor. So the collaboration, this is the kind of thinking I believe we need in the choral sector, so that we don't always see one another as competitors. And I mean,
True.
you went there, and now Sound of the Nation became champions in that year, and they
Yes.
were in the Champ of Champs in 2017. And thanks to that collaboration between you, Bagale Chorus, and Sound of the Nation. And I'm glad to hear that that collaboration and relations are still there. It's good. We have about 9 minutes. Let me bring back my leaders, because surely you influence the program, but from what I've heard, the leaders are responsible for pursuing that program. So guys, what did you have in store in 2020? Of course, I know it was disturbed by coronavirus. Morgane, wanna take that one? I heard that you are Cynthia, because Mohau keeps talking about Cynthia, and I don't see Cynthia on my screen.
So,
Eish. Now I know. Now I know what I spoke about at the beginning. Who is younger? Who is older? Because if you have that Christian name, it says something about you. We all have those names. So what did you have in store?
Just at the beginning of the year, we had planned to re-establish Bagale Chorus, but the focus was not specifically on entering music competitions. The focus was more on doing projects. So when COVID-19 hit, we tried to pursue some of those projects virtually, but technology and its costs became a serious impediment. So I'm gonna ask Tumelo to probably itemize 1 or 2 projects that we're probably looking at, because as our marketing and IT person, he was more the one who was trying to mobilize it behind the scenes.
From my side, I was trying to push, especially after the COVID lockdown announcement. I did try to make sure that we keep singing through virtual means, because I then studied how choirs are doing it, and also seeing great choirs also coming out there with well prepared material and music that was done, and I was very happy to look at that. One example, if I'm to name, would be Stellenbosch, which is one prominent choir in the country, doing very well in that particular space, where they would try new things, and it's working, and it's I think it's growing them to become a bigger brand and an entity of note when it comes to music and changing the landscape. So that was one project that we were looking at. In the beginning of the year, we did meet in rehearsals. We did meet. I remember we had, I think, 2 or 3 weeks where we met on Sundays, and then we got to do certain music, looking into re-establishing and probably doing a concert on that music that we were doing. It was pretty nice songs, songs that were not necessarily demanding, but soft music, just for us to come back into the space of music and be able to find ourselves again within also the maestro's hands, because he doesn't necessarily like loud music. He despises it sometimes. So we were doing. I think sometimes I thought to myself, maybe this guy, he's born in the wrong race. You are supposed to be maybe white. I don't know. Wow. But that is the kind of music that he likes, and then there's a lot from that, because from each and every music that we would then do, and then he educates, will tell you about why this chord here, why this note here, why this particular rhythm, and then within that particular period, what would have then inspired the writer to do so. So it was a learning curve of through that particular music, and then for us to reestablish ourselves as an entity and also as a choir. But I still feel we can still do those things, and with now level 1, it's open to anything. Anything is possible, just to maintain precautions that are there, restrictions, but making sure that we then uplift ourselves as we were locked as musicians and as choirs.
Great. In the last 4 minutes, Mohau, by the way, Tumelo, music doesn't have to be loud, and we don't have to blast people's ears. We have to communicate. So I think your conductor is right. Mohau, I believe you and I agree that there's nothing wrong and bad about competitions. We can all go to competitions, test our strength against other choirs, but there's a danger I'm saying this because of what Tumelo is saying about trying new things and making reference to Stellenbosch University Choir. But the danger is keeping that competition repertoire throughout the year and not try out new things. So I'm not sure what you think about that, because I believe we have to try out new things and not stage concerts using that same music that we've been singing throughout the year.
Maduna, that's what I always preach to choirs. When I was the time that I felt that I'm actually a musician was the time I was doing concerts in the United States, whereby I had to do 30 songs of different styles just to perform to the audience. And what you learn from 30 songs that you are doing that particular season is a lot as compared to the 1 or 2 songs that you will do the whole year for your competition. And I think that's where the crux is. We need to competition, like I said, it should just be one of the things that we do. But we need to learn as much music as possible. We need to learn as different styles as possible so that we capacitate the mind. Also, we enjoy other people's music, because at the moment, singing Verdi and Mogale from January until December, 2 pieces, it's not gonna work for us. It does not grow us in any way.
It doesn't. It doesn't. Certainly, I mean, there are performances where corporate entities would invite you to sing, and they would say, "Okay, can you guys sing An African Dream by Uviki Vilakazi? Can you arrange that and sing it as a choir?" We struggle because we're not used to singing anything else except Verdi and Jeza, Mogale, Ngobe, Nomia, and. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. But I'm saying we need to. I remember in one of the conversations as we are closing, Uma Mande Sanguza, she's been commenting here. She spoke about the value chain. I keep saying this because it's important. When you're producing and selling or marketing any product, you need to understand the value chain within the space where you're operating so that you know that, okay, if I go there, I cannot give them Verdi. I need to take very light repertoire because I'm going to be singing for people who are eating. So I need light things. Okay, I'm going there. It's a birthday party. This is the kind of music that I must do. And that is how we're going to raise money. We can't keep blasting people with big
crescendos.
Exactly. So I'm happy that you mentioned that, Mr. Mogale. Guys,
just before you close, and I'd like to thank you very much for inviting us, and just to let our audience and people know that Bagale Chorus is resuming again, but a different feel. They must see a different Bagale Chorus this time, not the one that they are used to, and we hope that will appeal to them this time in a different approach that will be taking the music.
Leaders, also take a few seconds. Tumelo?
No, from my side, firstly, the opportunity it's huge, and for us to be able to come and have a conversation about issues and also progress and what can be done, to alleviate the space. It's great. So I'm very thankful for the opportunity, and as a commitment that we have already made, that we're coming with a new product. Even yourself, Madonna, I've been watching your work with UWC. You have changed your space, and I've seen it has been working very, very nicely. I so wish that all of us can then move into that direction and try to rebrand ourselves and go to the space of a triple C, your UWC, and become very great musicians of note.
Thank you, sir.
From my side, I would like to say we really look forward to engaging more with people like you and Jeza so that we can start having reforms for the choral industry, so that we can tell that young child that there is indeed a career in music, and we want to engage more so that we see a change in how choral music is being viewed within our country. Let's change those systems that are currently in place so that we empower our nation with music just like other countries are doing. And if our audiences are lucky enough, they might be seeing something quite soon with the project that we're currently busy with. But thank you so much for the beautiful interview. This is our first, and I really love these conversations, because not only for our audiences, but even for our own members as well, they can start seeing that their management is being transparent about issues. I thank you.
Thank you so much, guys, for coming. And you are right. These conversations are meant for choirs, are meant for all of us as choral music practitioners, because I believe that we certainly cannot be doing the same things that were being done in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. We need to put our stamp as this generation to say we also joined the revolution, and this is the legacy we're leaving behind. I think for now, we're operating on the legacy that was left by the great musicians who came before us. So we also need to come up with innovative ways of running the choirs. And chief among others is what we've been discussing, to make sure that our choirs are being run professionally and that we're able to attract corporate sponsorship as partners. We're not begging because there's a product we're selling. We have to be partners with these entities so that we give them a platform to market their products, and we also show them the value that we can give in terms of numbers and in terms of value in material things, because some of us are professionals. We can be able to spend in those companies. Lastly, I just want to remind people what Professor Twani said in her presentation when she was here. She spoke about us looking at the value of things that we own as choirs before we go out and find money. Like, for instance, we buy uniforms. You pay 50,000 rands to buy uniform. You pay 15, 20,000 rands to buy a keyboard. Or melodica, you spend on music, you spend on a lot of things. But when we go out to look for funding, we don't leverage on those things and say we are worth 80,000 rands because we've got these assets. All that we need from you is 20,000 rands. And these are the things that we're going to be doing. We always go to these people with a zero balance, even though we have assets. So these conversations are meant for us to realize our worth and be able to market ourselves in that light. Ladies and gentlemen, I will see you on Sunday as I will be engaging Rhythm Divine. I'm sure that is going to be one of the great conversations as this one that we just had. Thanks, Bagale Chorus. Thanks, everyone who joined us this evening. I will see you on Sunday at 3 o'clock.